Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the ZMAM show. It is Mike here, and we are talking some differences between Quentin Tarantino's latest movie installment, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just saw it tonight with the wife. It was an amazing flick. It was fun. It had good comedy. It had great drama. Although the very ending events of the movie deviate a lot from the actual events that happened on that fateful night, August 8th, 1969, where Sharon Tate and several of her friends were murdered. And so I just kind of wanted to talk because I like history and I don't really know a whole lot about this because I wasn't even around. So we're going to talk basically spoilers throughout here. We're going to talk first the things that kind of happened that actual night in LA on August 8th, 1969. And then we're going to talk some other things about the movie itself and what happened. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, make sure to jump out and come back and visit us later. I will be mentioning a few things also throughout the conversation. So just watch out for those. So here we go. Let's just get straight into it. So basically there were 4 people involved with this. One of them, whose name was Tex, I think last name Watson, and then there were 3 other females, and that included Susan Atkins, which she was also known as Sadie. There was Patricia Krenwinkel, and also Linda Kasabian. And so Kasabian is the one who's been identified in real life that actually went back to the car to retrieve her knife and so forth. But in the movie, she actually goes back to the car and drives off. So there's a little, that's not really true history right there. They did actually not back out. They actually did stay there, but according as the story goes in real life, that basically she didn't enter the home and actually commit the murders. So let's talk a little bit about this. So these guys parked their car at the bottom of the street, which is that, I think is it Cello Drive? It could be Cielo Drive, but either way, it's in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles. And so these 4 get out and they climb this steep road by foot. And basically as they get up there, they're getting these ideas of how they're going to kill Sharon Tate and whoever else is in the house at the time. So in Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders, the author Vincent Bugliosi, which was the prosecutor actually in 1970 trial of Charles Manson, wrote that Kasabian never actually entered the Tate Polanski residence, according to his book. She agreed basically to testify about, in length, mind you, about the Tate and the LaBianca murders in exchange for immunity from prosecution. So I guess lucky her on that one. During this testimony, she told the attorney that, this was Atkins, one of the females that was up there. She actually said that Kasabian had stayed outside during the murders. And then the attorney Bugliosi wrote that Kasabian herself admitted to being present at the Tate residence, but of course said she did not participate in the murders themselves. So there was some actual testimony written that said, so Tex told Kasabian basically to go back to the car and wait in the driveway. And so she did what she was told, and she wanted to stop what was happening, but she found herself running back towards the house. And as she reached the main walkway that led up to the front door, there was a man, tall man, coming out the door, and he was staggering, and he had blood all over his face, and he was standing by a post, and they kind of looked at each other for a moment in each other's eyes, and she didn't know how long it lasted, but basically she said, "Oh God, I'm so sorry." And then the guy just fell over into the bushes and he died. And then Sadie came out running out of the house, and this Kasabian woman said, "Sadie, please make it stop. The people are coming," and which wasn't true. She just wanted to make the event stop. And that's when Sadie said, "It is too late." And then Linda turned, this is Kasabian, turned around, ran down the driveway, and she said it seemed for like almost 5 minutes, and she basically hid in the bushes near a gate, and then climbed the fence again and ran down Cello to where they had parked the Ford. At one point, the attorney asked even Kasabian, the fact that you were pregnant, which according to them she was, wasn't that the reason you stayed outside instead of going in to participate? And Kasabian responded, "Whether I was pregnant or not, I would never have killed anybody." So the attorney Bugliosi also wrote that there was no evidence whatsoever that Linda Kasabian had been inside the Tate residence or that she had seen Sharon Tate's body. So that's very interesting. Besides that, so Tate is played by actual Margot Robbie, and she did a wonderful job. But the movie does some really interesting things of misdirection. Okay, they're showing her, throughout this movie, not for a while. At first, it's just focused on basically Rick Dalton, which is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and then Cliff Booth, I think his name is. He's the stunt actor for Leo's Rick Dalton, and that's played by Brad Pitt. And those guys are just wonderful together in the movie, mind you, and they're just a powerhouse crew. It's just amazing. But just so you know, there are four, I think there's 4 or 5 people that are actually killed that night inside the Tate residence, and so that includes Sharon Tate and her unborn baby, along with hairstylist Jay Sebring, and then there was aspiring screenwriter, I think it's Wojciech Frykowski, Folger's coffee heiress Abigail Folger, that was interesting, an 18-year-old, there was a visitor there, and his name was Stephen Parent. And then one night later, the Manson clan also murdered Lino and Rosemary LaBianca. So there was 2 sets of murders, 2 homes, right? And this was, of course, all under the dark influence of the crazed Manson, Charles Manson. And so Manson was originally sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life. I didn't know that, with the possibility of parole when the California Supreme Court's People v. Anderson invalidated that all death sentences prior to 1972. He served out his life sentence and died at the age of 83 in 2017. Tex Watson, he was one of the 4 that went up to do the murders. He was found guilty of murder and imprisoned in 1971. Krenwinkel, which was one of the females, was also convicted of all accounts and sentenced to death, but that was also commuted to life in prison due to those rules we spoke to just earlier. And despite many parole hearings, she remains still incarcerated. Atkins received the same sentence as Krenwinkel, but she died in 2009. So, those were a lot of the events that went down. I did not know much of that history. When we get to Tarantino's film, though, it definitely took a change in direction. So all throughout this movie, we're kind of seeing this golden age of Hollywood and how it changed throughout, 69, I guess, and into 70. And there were a lot of things changing, I guess, just films in general, and how producers and directors were working with their actors, and how, certain films and their styles were just changing, right? And the acting, people had to really start becoming better actors. And so Leo's kind of becoming that has-been actor or whatever, and he's trying to find himself in this era. So while this is all going down, so basically Leo and I guess Cliff, he hangs out with him a lot at his house. They live right next to the Tate residence, okay? So it was very interesting to see how this went down. So basically, when these 4 fools from the Manson party basically head up to do this, they head out in this loud-ass car, right? And so Leo comes out and starts yelling at him because he doesn't like hippies already. He's made it very clear throughout the movies. He's like effing hippies and this and that, and makes some innuendos towards him. And Cliff was over visiting, which is, again, he's the action stunt double, and he can definitely fight, he can definitely move, he's very capable guy. So he's over visiting Rick Dalton, which was Leo's character, that night. And so basically they're inside, or I think Cliff took his dog for a walk, getting high on some acid-dripped cigarette or something, because he said he wanted to do that. And then Leo comes out, yells at these Manson people, which he doesn't know who they are, and tells them to get on because they're a loud vehicle and this and that. It's a private street. And that's when the Manson crew head back out, right? They park at the bottom, and then they start talking a little bit. They realize that they recognize Rick Dalton from his films back in the day, and then they get this crazy notion that, hey, we've always watched, these stars murder people on TV. Wouldn't it be a crazy idea if we murdered the people who are murdering on TV? I mean, you're just talking crazy, right? These people are just out of their freaking minds. And, I always think to myself and say, if you have a weak mind, then watch out, because you're going to basically do what anybody else tells you to do, and you're going to follow them and think that they are right. And that's pretty much the power that Charles Manson had over these people, amongst other things. And so anyways, so these 4 crew head up there and decide to hit Dalton's house, Rick Dalton's house first, which is Leo. Leo's in the back in his pool, and he's got his headphones on. He's listening to some music and floating in the pool. And meantime, his newlywed wife is asleep with sleeping pills and this and that in her bedroom because they just got back, I think, from Italy doing a bunch of films and this and that, spaghetti westerns. And then you have Cliff Booth, which is Brad Pitt's character. He's kind of feeding his dog in there or whatever, and that's when these guys break in, and all this tension's building up, and you're just like, oh my god, what is going to happen here? I don't want him to kill Brad Pitt's character. I don't want him to kill Leo. I mean, it's just been such a ride over this 2 hours and almost 30 minutes at that point in time. And then suddenly, amongst a little bit of humor in between, it just gets real, and it gets totally Tarantino style, and Brad Pitt just puts an ass whooping down along with his pit bull dog, mind you, who is very well trained, and they start ripping the shit out of these three these three assailants, and it was a sight. I mean, it was overly done, of course, the action, but that's Tarantino style. And if you don't like Tarantino films, then you're not gonna like the ending. That's just all there is to it. But I do like his style, and I thought it was comical, but I also it felt deserving, because these guys are weirdos and they're willing to commit murder, and in the real world they did. So it just kind of felt good. So those are some of the things that happened basically between real life and the actual movie itself. It was really a great movie. I'm not going to say 10 because, as you've heard in some of my other reviews, if you've ever listened in, 10 is a big number, but I am leaning towards a 9 to 9.5. I mean, this was a very entertaining drama. The action at the end was over the top, but it just felt right. And a lot of the conversations were meaningful throughout the movie. It definitely had Tarantino style written all over it. A lot of build up in between, but I do feel that it kind of made everything make sense along the way. So with that said, guys, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just came out this weekend, and I think you should definitely go out and check it out. And if you want to hear a little bit more on it, I'm going to do like a quick 3 to 5 minute review, and that'll be out as well. So other than that, this is the ZMAM show, and since we're on our Fear of the Walking Dead, everything else hiatus, but we'll have some other stuff for you guys real soon. So take care, and I'll see you guys at the next review.